the Pledge of Allegiance. Move your hand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing, Pastor.
Our gracious Father, we're thankful for our gathering this evening. And as we reflect upon this day that we shared in community or with our families or with friends, that we might look at all the wonderful gifts that you bestowed upon us in every relationship. And Heavenly Father, as we gather this evening to discuss the affairs of the county, we'd like to give thanks for those who have done such great work and hard work preparing for this meeting this evening. We pray for our commissioners, we pray for all the support staff, and also, Father, for the citizens who have come to support our county. And Heavenly Father, we ask for your wisdom on all the deliberations, and we also pray that you would enable each and every person to be a great steward of the assets of the community, as you are the steward of each and every person. And we ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. It's better than
Commissioner Carl. Here. Commissioner Walters. Here. Commissioner Altman. Commissioner Smith.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're calling this meeting to order. Would you please be quiet? Thank you.
Commissioner Burrow.
Here.
correction to the agenda or additions to the agenda?
I motion that we approve the agenda as printed.
Support. Motion supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Reading of the cash balances.
Yes, we have $1,297,297.90 in the general fund. We have a unallocated cash balance of $90,769.50. The total general fund, the total unallocated is $1,388,067.40. That's before any bills, of course, and that includes an advance from the 911 fund of $400,000, and the general fund tax anticipation that will be borrowed up to $1.5 million. That's Christie was able to borrow $1.3 million. That's where we stay.
Board minutes. Everybody had a chance to take a look at them?
I make the motion that we approve the minutes from the regular board meeting May 13th and the minutes as presented from the committee of the whole that was held this morning.
Support. Motion supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any public comments? Any public comments? Good.
I didn't got it.
Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Josh Fairley, District Court Judge. I'm here on behalf of my staff for the actions that we have learned that the board is looking to take, and I felt it was important to appear because I want to put a face to the board of the proposed cuts and what we feel has been a violation of the agreement that was entered into between the board and the courts earlier this year. For many of you that haven't been on the board over the last couple of years, and I recognize some of you are newer, but to bring you up to speed, when I started in this position, we had 5 clerks in our office and 2 probation clerks. We were reduced. It was proposed to lose a clerk position, reducing us to 4. We had an agreement with this board at that time that when one of those clerks left, we would not rehire, despite a new program we had begun, and the board would agree to fund our recovery court program at $15,000 a year, which was a savings of $29,000 per year over the last 2 years for this board. We were permitted to maintain clerk funding at 4, with again $15,000 per year for our recovery court position, when one of our probation clerks left. We were unable to rehire that position. Our staffing hours have been cut from 239 hours to 172 hours. Last summer, this board proposed a cut of clerks to 3 positions. We had an agreement again with the board that if we increased revenues by our fines and costs, our reduction of court-appointed attorney fees, and our oversight fees, that we would be permitted to keep funding for 4. The board budgeted again after that agreement to move forward with the cut despite the agreement. The board again cut our recovery court funding in half despite previous promises to fund that at $15,000 a year, now funding it at $7,500 per year. There was a new proposal as recent as January. My staff and I had at least 7 to 8 meetings with the finance committee of this county and entered into another agreement earlier this year in January, adopted unanimously by this board on February 11th. The agreement was that if the courts could maintain its level of revenues and reduction of costs, that the staffing would be allowed to be maintained for the 2014 year. We have not only maintained the reduction of cuts, but increased revenues for 3 consecutive months since that proposal went into effect. And now we've learned that the board is proposing a $33,000 cut to our department alone. We have a probation department right now that is supervising greater than 4 times the state average for probationers. State average being close to 75 citizens. We have over 300 people on probation with 1 part-time clerk to assist our probation department. There have been multiple occasions where false information for other departments is coming in against our interest in the district court without, on several occasions, being given an opportunity to respond until the time of the committee meeting. And that information we have asked for and have not been given what we believe is a prompt opportunity to respond to that. We have suffered, as well as the rest of the building, substantial cut to court security staffing, despite all the efforts of the sheriff to maintain a safe environment. We've been reminded of the dangers when thankfully not in this county, but just 2 weeks ago in Clare County, someone brought a loaded pistol into the courtroom. We have for over 3 years now been utilizing video conferencing equipment that has been a substantial cost savings to this county in helping the Sheriff's Department with its transportation costs, its housing, and the services that are required for individuals that are incarcerated that we put into our normal recovery court program. And I respect each of you and have been good friends with many of you, and I know you're in a difficult position, but it is difficult to continue to negotiate when on at least 6 occasions in the last 2.5 years, every concession that the district court has made has been violated. And so I'm here on behalf of my staff asking you to reconsider its position for cuts. We've increased our revenues, we've reduced our costs, we've done that 3 consecutive times, and I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that we likely, unless this board takes a different position, that we cannot properly continue to fund the district court if we are reduced by another staff member. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Was there anything else on finance?
Yeah, ready to do that? Got another hand up.
Yes.
I was here this morning and I just want to restate on behalf of the animal shelter, the proposal to cut the part-time person, Crystal, from the animal control if that takes place, she's only making about $12,500. I want to restate that euthanizing these animals that we've had 9 years of progress in reducing in this community is going to cost this county approximately $15,000 a year. That's just for the euthanizations. In addition to that, one person cannot euthanize. You only have Jim on duty. He can't euthanize alone. We're going to have a lot more animals running loose in this county. The cats are going to become a problem again. You're going to have feral and wild dogs in this community. Since Jim, last 2 weeks now, we've had $7,000 in donations. $7,000 in donations to keep that person in that building. We're almost there. So I'm hoping that the board will reconsider not cutting that part-time person from the shelter.
We appreciate your comments. We're going to talk all about that. Sharon?
I'm Sharon Thurston. I've been working with the Animal Control for quite a while and with Heart of Michigan and a few other animal rescue groups. We have come up with a plan that we can pay Crystal's wages. So I've talked to some business owners already. They're in favor of it. They're willing to support it. The main issue is placemat ads, and I'll be real quick on this. We have $250 per ad that is leaving the county for profit, going down to Pontiac. We have $150 that is being paid to a guy out of Lansing. And those ads, and then there's a lady up at St. Helens, it's $125 that she's charging per ad. Those ads don't cost that much to print. And I've talked to 2 printing places that are willing to do them for a fairly good rate. And we can pay Crystal's wages. And we can give the businesses in the community a break in their advertising. Because if you stop to think about it, everybody goes in the restroom. I mean, you can only sit there and talk so long, and everybody glances down at placemats where they might not read the cups or their glasses or anything like that. So we have to come up with a way that we can support her and we can keep her on. So I'd like you to consider that.
And next finance
And
meeting.
we have other fundraising coming up too. We have a golf outing coming up, and we have some businesses around the area that are going to do a little bit fundraising too. So we do have some things going on so that we can.
I think we'll put you on the agenda for the next finance meeting. We'll sit down and talk to you about that.
Okay.
Commissioner Burrow?
Will there be time for other public comments
Yeah.
once you get into the budget?
I'm going to do another public comment.
Okay.
And we'll do,
All right.
we'll do
Okay,
finance.
they've got a few items that we need to cover. John Schaefer from the EMS has approached us for approval for their fiscal 2014 budget, and it is $1,626,000, and I make the motion that we approve his budget.
Is there support?
Or,
Motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Rhonda Repper, Judge Meeks' secretary, has requested a payment of 5 unused vacation days according to the court's non-union policy. That's a total of $715.40, and it's paid for the 101-131-704 fund. I'll make a motion to approve.
Support. Motion supported. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
In the last 5 months, we've been having meetings with insurance agents, and we now have come up with a plan. And I propose we send a letter terminating our agreement with Cadillac and retaining the services of Burkhart Presidio. The advantages there would be there is no change in the coverages, but we would change agents. And in the process, the new TPA will reduce the monthly fees to $650 from $695. So we'll realize a savings there, and our employees can get any service problem solved by walking across the street to Burkhart Presidio. So I'll make the motion that we authorize Terry to send a letter to Blue Cross naming Burkhart Presidio effective July 1.
Want a roll call on that?
please. I support.
This motion supported. Then we'll roll call.
Commissioner Carl?
Yes.
Commissioner Walters?
Yes.
Commissioner Altman?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Burgel?
Yes.
Okay. What else do you have?
Okay, we've been reviewing, attempting to find all the funds we can to close this budget deficit. We've identified in the revenue in the 239 fund for the GIS services that is really should be in the general fund, and Christie has now pinned that down exactly to $35,390.67 that will be transferred to the 101-000-670-000. That would be a new account named GIS revenue. So you make your notes on that one, and I'll make the motion that we authorize that transfer.
I'll support.
Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, there is 4 special fund accounts that will be closed and transferred to the general fund based on the GASB 54 rules. These funds are inactive and they carry small balances, but the totals of them are $6,584.32. So I'll make the motion to close, allow the treasurer to close funds 208, 245, 246, and 295, and move those balances to the general fund.
Support. Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we have a list of vehicles in the Sheriff's Department that we need to publish, and we want sealed bids on them. That document is in your files there. And I'll make the motion that we authorize the sale of the unneeded cruiser.
I think we've already authorized that at the last meeting, so we just needed the exact listing, the language, but we authorized that 2 weeks ago, and the sealed bids are to be open in June.
Okay, so we need a motion to sell the cars, then final motion on the list of the vehicles, which we didn't have when we read it.
Support.
Yep.
Motion support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Also, there was a dog carrier or kennel or something.
Oh, yeah, it's a truck. But
That's on there too.
it's on here.
There are 2 F-150s.
Anything else, Mr. President?
That's all I got.
Is there something to do with drain sauce, or was that changed?
Oh, we had a transfer. Just a minute, I'm gonna find the language. It was the indirect costs that Christie was able to pin it down. Christie, I don't remember the details. Right. It was that indirect cost that we were talking about. Thank you. These figures are costs that were created in the Drain Commissioner's Department, and the total to be transferred is $22,059 even. So I'll make the motion that we make the official transfer.
Support.
Motion support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Committee reports. Mr. Carroll. Committee
Oh,
reports.
things seem to be going fairly well at the township, so Terry, except for they do have the concern over the ORV and the road issues, and Commissioner Smith will be talking about that. She set a meeting up for June 9th with the road commission here in the commissioner's chambers to see if we can work our way through the issues. A lot of people up north over the holiday weekend, I think it was good for the local economy. Didn't hear anything about any major issues there, so we That's all I have tonight.
Commissioner Smith?
I attended, Amy, you had one of the minutes listed as a finance meeting, but it should be listed as an insurance meeting, filled in for Commissioner Walters. And we met with a group that came to do a spiel, and obviously we did not accept what they were discussing. I attended the Gladwin County Human Services for Commissioner Burgle on the 20th. And each commissioner, you have a packet that's all together. And this is a direct packet from that meeting. First of all is the information about the Mid-Michigan Honor Flight, where they will take World War II veterans to Washington, D.C. And they have 2 of those. The people who are eligible, World War II veterans, will have first priority, and any terminally ill veteran from any time, and then Korean War veterans. And so I wanted to be sure that that information was submitted to all of the townships so that they would know about that opportunity. There's also a flyer from ADD Healthcare Professionals who do in-home health care. Flyer from the Alzheimer's Association talking about the walk that they have scheduled in September 20th for the Alpena, Midland, and Traverse City area to raise funds for the Alzheimer's Association. Laura Rule is the contact person for that. And then there is an issue for the Healthy Michigan, ages 19 to 64. It has the listing for the income guidelines, and if you fall within them, this is an opportunity for health care that to have you covered. It's called Healthy Michigan Plan, We've Got You Covered. And then also an announcement about the Region 7 Area Agency on Aging, having a meeting looking at their implementation on Wednesday, June 11th, and for services to the aging guidelines. And then I thought this was kind of an interesting opportunity, a natural disaster awareness for senior caregivers. And they're in Bay City. On June 18th, they had them a 4-hour course from 8 until 12 or from 1 until 5. And so that these flyers, and that way you can distribute that information to each of the townships so that people have a chance to be able to know about those kinds of
Maybe
things.
have Amy send it out to the townships.
Yeah, Amy, you could do that. You could take a packet and make sure that they go out. Okay. Also from that meeting, the announcement is that the Lost Haven Campground in Beaverton is open under new management, that the Helping Hands Mission distributed 309 boxes of food to over 1,000 people. Shelter House had a fundraiser, gained $867, which stays in Gladwin County. Julie Wright from Mid-Michigan Health reported that 62% of county students qualify for free lunches. True North, which helps with energy needs, they're stationed, their home office is in Fremont, but they have, the woman that was there lives in Midland County. True North, which helps with energy needs, spent $178,000 this past winter in Gladwin County. There will be applications for the fall for people who need help with their energy needs. The EMS received the Silver Award for their exemplary work. I met with the library board on the 20th. We had a presentation from Steve and Lori Friend with the Gladwin County Food Bank. They wish to lease the building that's that the library board has that's in White Star. It's the old American Legion building, and they wish to lease that for their food bank. No decision was made at the library board, but it's there for the information. We had a data meeting on the 21st. We covered 3 matters with Gina Conrad. Okay? Gina, I'm gonna call on you. The first one dealt with amalgam, and we have, you have contracts in your packet on the amalgam. Amalgam is the maintenance and keeps our GIS. We've had the contract with them, and they keep that up and running and up to date, so everything is accurate, okay? And so they're, it costs, they would do included training. Is that a separate issue?
Are you doing the addressing?
Let's do the,
You want to do the addressing first?
No.
no, let's do the contract with them. But is the addressing part of the contract?
It is.
Okay, well then, first of all, let's do that. We turned down a request from Jocelyn Malone. She was asking part of data, and she wanted this information for free, and the policy is that if she pays the $6,000 that everybody else pays to get that information, then it would be made available to her. And then we did the maintenance contract.
We currently have in place a maintenance contract.
Stand, please.
We currently have in place with Amalgam a contract for our parcel data maintenance. And since completion of that, we've done point addressing, we've done our road center lines, and we have our zoning districts. So rather than have 4 separate maintenance agreements with Amalgam, we thought let's combine them all into one, so we have just one maintenance agreement. So the parcel maintenance would be just a continuation of what we've had since 2010. Adding zoning and road center lines would be done on an as-needed basis if there were changes, billed at $40 an hour. So if it took them, 15 minutes, it'd be $10. And for the point addressing, I believe it's $2.50 a point. So that way the costs are going to be minimal, but it's important that we keep it up to date and maintained. And I won't need to come to this board as often, for a minimal request. It can just be done. That can be paid from the GIS revenue.
That new line item was...
Correct.
And we can't act on the entire thing without acknowledging that the previous board had passed the addressing policy, and it doesn't provide for a fee to be paid in order to, remember, we're taking over from consumers.
No, this is separate.
This is separate.
This is separate.
This is separate.
You're acknowledging that it's now separate now. I seemed to have a problem the other day in the meeting to get that across to everybody.
No. This is from the data meeting, Mr. Bergel.
I know. But I also know that there was a lot of discussion about who was going to be responsible for assigning the numbers, etc.
Oh,
okay.
But that's not this. Okay, but we get to that. Okay, and so this GIS
Maintenance agreement.
I make the motion that we approve this payable out of the GIS line that was just created, and I'm sorry I don't have the whole number.
I got a number if you would need it.
Support.
So you can't pay it out of, the new line's a revenue line, correct, Christie? You can't pay it out of a revenue line.
Right, they're gonna pay it out of the 110000802.
802, which is a contract services line for the county, and then transfer from the GIS data line to
101,
802. Correct. Contract services.
That's why we have them here.
How much is the?
There's not a cost.
Yeah, we won't know until the maintenance is done.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, because it's perfect.
It's, I mean, I could say not to exceed 3,500 a year, to be close. That's a good guesstimate.
So I made the motion and Dennis.
Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Is that it, or do we need to do?
The next one, the addressing maintenance agreement.
Okay,
Or that can be, that's something, if you want to act on it today, it's not necessarily something that's going to be done, because as we talked about the other day, we're not sure who's going to do the actual assigning of the addresses. This is going to be strictly for any addresses that need to be updated or maintained in GIS. So if we do this training, we
okay,
get the free application to do so, and then that would take place at such time a person is designated for it.
okay, that covers that. I'm gonna get down.
I had talked to Justin today, and he said that he would agree to take that. Justin.
At that, the second part of that data meeting, we met with Lori Yeager from Pitney Bowes. They no longer even manufacture the machine that we currently have. Okay? And so through a couple of emails, etc., it comes up to that if we sign a new contract with Pitney Bowes, it will be at a cost savings to the county right up front of $400, because it saves us $1.35 for every piece of certified mail that goes out, okay? And we thought she had all the numbers exactly, but that is already an arrangement that the treasurer's office has. So we're looking at $400 savings plus savings on ink, because this new machine is much easier on what's happening, and so I will make the motion that we sign the Pitney Bowes contract.
Support.
Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Okay, I also met with the Uniform Addressing Committee. I was there for Mr. Walters, and I'll let Mr. Bergel handle that. On Thursday, this was an interesting meeting. On the 22nd, I met with the Mid-Michigan Focus Group on healthcare services available in Gladwin County. It was an interesting meeting. Sheriff Shea was one of the people that was there. There was the superintendent of Beaverton Schools, Billings Township supervisor. There was a cross-section of people who were there and talked about what kind of services do we need to have that need to be better, more available, etc. And I believe at the end we found out it was sponsored by Mid-Michigan Health, and I asked if we would be getting a follow-up on all of the things that were discussed. The young gal that was in charge wasn't really sure, so I hope that will happen. I attended the Memorial Day services in both Gladwin and Beaverton on yesterday. They were well done, my compliments. We have set up, as soon as the Road Commission approves, that there will be a county affairs meeting on June 9th at 9 a.m. And this is kind of, since this is the second of the two meetings that we had scheduled for evening meetings, I will make the motion that we continue holding one meeting a month of our regularly scheduled meetings at night through the month of September.
Support.
Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Do you want that the second meeting or the first one?
We'll make the second meeting.
The second meeting? And that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bergel.
Okay, let's continue with the discussion on the addressing. Several years ago, the commission passed an ordinance on that subject of road numbering, and Consumers Energy historically has assigned numbers when you apply for a transformer and pole, and they're no longer going to be doing that. And in that committee meeting, we had representatives from pretty much all over the county, and everyone had specific opinions and circumstances. And if we take those all into consideration, so that we don't create a circumstance that doesn't fit everybody's needs, is what it comes down to. It appears the best solution would be to have Justin Snyder and the construction codes assign the numbers, but we created a starting point for that the driveways, as Gina pointed out, we need to make certain that the driveway is constructed into the property as simultaneously with the assigning of the number, and that the road commission is clued in that if the property is completely undeveloped in where they would require a permit from road commission to put tube in driveway, that'll all be coordinated. But it seemed logical to put it all together along with Gina's ongoing GIS system. We're looking at reassigning personnel. Gina's probably going to be put under Justin's supervision in the very near future anyway. So with all these plans and all these facets of it working, it just seemed to make sense to do it that way. And in here, this ordinance that was passed, it doesn't allow for any offset of costs. In other words, it clearly states the county shall provide the service issuing street numbers without cost to property owners. Well, I don't think we do that. I think we've got to empower Justin to charge an administrative fee commensurate with the amount of time and effort and with Gina's work that goes on. It would make sense. Clare County charges currently $40 for the new address. Midland County charges $75. But all the rich people, so they can afford it. But I would suggest that we ask Justin and Gina to suggest to us a number that would make sense for the additional work that's involved and so forth. So
Justin has agreed to do that as well, right?
He told me what today.
I didn't give him any choice. So,
He was very open
Yeah.
that, yes, that and it's just that people from Consumers Power were here, and they're constantly getting calls, and they say we don't do that, so they really wanted a Gladwin County person that could then, because then it trickles down where everybody gets their stuff.
So at this point, I think we may lay this on the table until the next meeting and finalize it then.
Where we would have to make the ideas and numbers, yeah.
And in the meantime, Justin is aware to respond. Remember, we discussed also response times. We put it in that 5 days, but we would the target would be more like 2 or 3 or instantly, depending on the
So
situation.
you'd like us to move the table that then?
Well, the idea is not to inconvenience the downstate people that come up here and spend money and then go home. And
You want to table it until...
they don't table till next meeting.
That's so moved.
And
I'll
we can,
support that.
Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
and other than what I've been doing, Terry, that's all I've got on the committee for this morning.
Commissioner Rowe.
Yes. I attended the Grimm Township meeting on the 13th and also the Barrett Township meeting that same day. They both are just working on their township things, no real problems going on there either place. I attended the EDC meeting on the 14th in Gladwin, and they're very disappointed with the results of the election, as this will affect them. They did talk about the new company moving into town, Roll Right, which will occupy the old Simpson building. And the sawmill in Sherman Township has been purchased and will be called J.W. Woodruff Products. I attended the MAC meeting on the 19th in Grayling, and the Secord Township meeting on the 21st, and their cell tower should be up and running the end of this month, which is just coming up real short, and they're got everything under control here too, so that's that.
Again. Myself, Sage Township, Gladwin City, they're doing some paving, some upgrading of roads. Finance, we've had a number of them. The Commissioner Smith said Memorial Day went great, everything went well. Glad in Beaver Township. 27th, we had a budget meeting this morning. We have 2 vets we've lost this month. Kenneth Dale Westfall, he's a Korean vet in Buckeye Township. And James Melvin McMullen, a World War II vet, Sage Township. And also, I had the mental health board meeting tonight for the 6 counties. I've been the finance chair of that. I stepped down tonight because I want to take and focus more on what's going on here. They were unhappy with me, but that's what we got to do. Somebody will step up from one of the other 5 counties. So. Okay.
I got something else to add.
Go ahead.
Okay. I attended the Beaverton Fire Department open house. It was, they've done a great job in putting that together after a 2 or 3 year false start circumstance, but it's really looking good. Beaverton City meeting was one for the records. I enjoyed myself. It's better than watching Judge Judy, you know. And the sports complex where I responded to questions from Joel. And Sharon, I'm on 13 committees. Okay, Sharon, you would make a great human services coordinating body committee person, and I advocate to you. You got it. Right. I'm only on 12 more now, so if you see any others you like, volunteer. By the way, Sharon, you've never been military. I was. You don't volunteer for nothing.
I know. Sandy and I were discussing that on our way out today.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, that's all.
I want to go back for a minute. Judge Farrell, you're correct. I recall those. Myself and probably Commissioner Carl were probably the only ones here, and we've had a new board and things have changed. I recall that, and that's very true, that what you stated earlier. So we'll have to take a look at that and see what we can come up with. And then you want to go into the budget. Anything other comments before we get into that? Okay.
Just as a point of order, while we're doing this budget, and if there are comments from the members who are in the audience.
We need you to state your name and where you're from or what's going on. You know, try to keep it within 3 minutes if you can. Okay, and I'll have public comments afterwards too, so. Go ahead.
Want to make the resolution?
Yep.
And then we'll debate it. Okay. By resolution, Laura, that and there are no body counts, so I'm making a resolution that we.
What's that? No. He wants to do it.
I want it to be done in the
when he's
form
done.
of a resolution.
When he's done.
Typically, the resolution has to be prepared before they're adopted.
Are we limited to make it this a motion?
We can make a motion and carry it. Next meeting, we'll make it.
Okay, nobody, I did not look at any individuals when I was preparing this. I simply went by dollars. Christy and Marlene and Laura and I, for many hours now in the past couple of months, have been attempting to pin down what the target number was and what are the options in order to close the budget gap. It is not a black and white, easy to do like your own checkbook. It's multifaceted. It's dependent upon a great deal on unknowns, such as the income, for example. The revenue is not predictable, that type, and even to some extent the expenses aren't. Given the example of the septic tank crashing at the animal protection last week, Friday, the $20,000 required for the three-phase 25-horse motor, things of that nature pop up, and we've got to have a contingency type plan to meet these kinds of circumstances. In addition to that, the overall picture of the totals that we started with were about 380,000. And that gap we filled by, earlier you heard about the transfer of the money from the GIS fund. All of these things added in, we got, Christie got an additional 42,000 of revenue in April that we didn't anticipate, so we're down to about 300,000. And these are the budget adjustments that need to be made in order to get it down to about 211 or 210,000 or so. And we're still not finished because we've got some other unknowns. For example, the public PA 152, we believe units UAW 3, 4, and 5 owe us about $140,000 because they went over the cap, the hard cap. We're in fiscal year 2012-13. All of these things are involved, so even what we do tonight will not solve the budget deficit problem. These other things are still hanging out there and need to be resolved. So we're proposing reducing the animal control budget by $12,500, the circuit court secretary by $16,500, the district courts clerks by $25,500 and $14,000, the friend of the court $27,500 and $13,000, the IT position $10,000, probate court $23,000, the clerk's office $28,000, the sheriff $17,000, the treasurer $7,500, the prosecutor $15,000. That's a total of $211,500.
And you forgot the emergency, deputy emergency.
Oh, we reduced that. Now, that's kind of, thanks for bringing it up, Mr. Chairman. We've made other reductions that don't appear here. For example, our emergency manager is now $20,000, and we've not budgeted any money for the Economic Development Corp or the airport or Michigan State Extension beyond what it was already spent. And the emergency manager is down to the point where we were at the rock bottom minimum there, because remember, we must create an acceptable FEMA plan for emergencies. And without that, then any natural disaster that we might have, we will not be eligible for state or federal support. So that's where we stand on that. What's that again? Oh.
And I think we're going to have, just like Judge Farrell, we're going to have to go back and revisit some of these, and take a look at some of the things.
So there's where we stand. I propose we take the action necessary to amend our budgets. Ms. Argan.
If you have, excuse me, Marietta Sprout, if you have to revisit the subject, you have to come to a decision tonight, can't you revisit the subject and decide later?
And she's speaking specifically of the animal protection, and
Well,
Sharon
no.
Thurston has got, like she said, she's got a good idea. But remember, we've had that one kind of on the bubble to begin with, in the sense that we know the facts, that the problem with doing it with volunteers is going to be limited to the administering of euthanasia drugs and so forth. And we like the idea, Sharon, that you guys are coming up with. The Humane Society in Midland seems to operate their animal protection pretty efficiently, from what I understand.
There are no kill shelters.
Pardon me?
There are no kill shelters.
Okay. And I'm one of those kind of guys. I have 10 cats,
I wasn't just
all of them
speaking-
strays, so
I wasn't just speaking for Amber, I was talking for all of the departments. If you've got to revisit these.
we cannot delay this much longer, because any more delays, the cost of closing the gap increases. It doesn't go down. It doesn't go away, and it doesn't diminish. We must move as quickly as we can to bring it back into line. But animal protection is certainly one that is one we can consider delaying any final action on.
Also recovery court. Just curious, also with the recovery court.
Yeah,
Terry talked about.
yeah, we can. That's what the whole idea is, to put it, to debate the things. I think it should be noted that this is the first time that I can remember in this county where we've been this transparent on these kinds of issues. In other words, we're on the table.
Well, I have a question. Is this money that is to come out of their budget before the end of the year?
Exactly. That
Okay.
it is strictly.
So what we're saying is that they know, so that the department heads would know that's what has to happen between now and the end of the year. That leaves, and I can understand that this is not easy. But I can I believe then, it isn't like we're saying, okay, you're getting, people have to be gone Monday. That's not what this is about. This is the amount of money that has to come out, but there's always the option, praise God, that there would be increases in revenue that would come in that would offset this, correct?
And that was the concern when Judge Evans asked us to at least monitor the revenue coming into the courts and to avoid going to the Court of Appeals on the lawsuit, and it just seemed to make better sense to just let's watch it. So Marlene Muma has been monitoring it every week. And
so what's the total? Is this 22,500? Is that the total?
It's 211,500 is what these cuts that I've suggested represent.
211,500.
211,500. And Christie, what was our final figure earlier today
Final figure for what?
for the deficit that we got to close?
For the cash flow analysis was 380,000.
But then we reduced it down with the 40 that we found in GIS and some other factors, right?
Right.
So we're down to what, about 300?
Yes, that's the
Somewhere
thing.
around. So we're trying, but
But
this
that's on
gets
the
us,
cash flow analysis basis.
you're right here,
That's based on the cash flow analysis.
Okay. In other words, what they were doing is tracking on the cash flow analysis so that by the end of, in December, we were going to be 380,000 in a deficit. Unless, that is assuming all things remain constant, the revenue and expenditures predicted and so forth. So we're at the point now where we have closed part of that by the things that I mentioned already, by finding way funds are. In other words, we've unturned every rock we could find to try to close that gap. So we're down to the point now where we've got to reduce payroll, and that's the only option left.
And Mr. Berger, with all due respect, the problem I have with the board taking action tonight is we entered into an agreement for what we felt we're asking the board to respect this agreement. You have given us just under 2 weeks to digest the $40,000 cut that you've proposed today, which we believe much of the information provided to the board is inaccurate. Any cash flow analysis issues that we brought up to the board in January of certain department expenses and revenue items that we knew were completely inaccurate, programs that are no longer in existence in our court. We've been given less than 2 weeks to address nearly $40,000 when we are, and again, no disrespect to the other quarters, 3 straight months increased revenue with the proposed changes we made to the board. We're the only quarter that has increased revenues, and we've reduced all of our expenses, and yet we're taking the biggest hit. So I disagree with the board taking action on it when, Mr. Chairman had just stated that. I mean, I have the February 11th adoption of what the board adopted 5-0. So I think it's.
Yeah, I was the one that made the motion, so, you know.
So I think it's improper if it needs to be revisited to address the numbers that we asked for in January. I don't think it's proper.
Well,
Judge Farrell, one of the things that I want to clarify is that this cut has to happen between now and the end of the year. This is not something that has to happen that's immediate. And at the meeting this morning, this board decided that our finance committee is now going to be a committee of the whole where all of us are there, okay? So when you're increasing, you know, hopefully because you are bringing the things up and, you know, that you're not going to have to make that cut between now and the end of the year.
How can we be assured of that when we were promised the same thing in January?
I don't know.
In January, it was promised that if we increased revenues, this would need to be revisited until June. It's now May. We've kept our end of the bargain on revenues and expenses, and the board is taking a vote in direct contradiction of the vote it made in February, when we've lived up to our end of the agreement.
I agree, we're gonna have to take and perhaps it's back up and take a look at this and see where we're going. I think everybody would agree with you. We need to take a look. I recall, and I don't know if Dennis does or not, but like I say, I'm not apologizing for myself, but we've got just about a new board other than Dennis and myself, and Dennis has been gone a little bit too, but there was a lot of things that we weren't brought up to par on, we didn't know about. But I do recall you coming up and that being voted on.
Are we going to be remiss? Are we going to be remiss in our responsibilities if we do not take some action tonight? That's my question.
Here's what the situation is. Obviously, none of us want to take any action. But the intellectual objectivity, intellectual honesty, we're looking at the situation that I'm explaining. We have over $300,000 deficit to close, and it's a case where every department head, we've met with every one of them, scheduled it so that each person would have enough time to make their case, and we attempted to honestly and objectively evaluate where we can find the $300,000. But I think if you stop and just be less biased towards your own area and look at the overall picture. In other words, macro, micro. Let's go macro and look at it as what's developing. If we don't close this gap, then we are in violation of Michigan's laws ourselves. And I held my hand up in the Bible, and that's my only mission. I am not attempting to see Levin's unemployment rate go up any higher than it is. I don't want anybody hurt. I wanted it to go through the year without any problems, but we've got to. And remember that the agreement we made with Judge Evans, it was that he maintained that the revenue assumptions that were being used to establish the budget for this year that Josh and Terry created weren't accurate like yourself, you're saying. And as a consequence, that's why we said, okay, let's monitor it and see if it's developing. Well, according to what's going on, it's moving along, and Mike says that it's within a few thousand of what was projected. Not large caps, but some. But that being said, how do you propose that we close the gap of 300,000 when we have literally gone through every department and attempted to find the solution?
And I respect that, Mr. Ringel. We've been asking since January for a review of that cash flow analysis that you yourself handed to us when we walked into that meeting. It was a cash flow analysis from the Treasurer's Office that we told you had numerous inaccuracies of department figures, revenue and expense line items that needed to be corrected. And that was in January. And I'm just saying that, yes, I'm certainly biased, even in my position, but I'm biased towards my staff because we've given assurances now to our staff for 2 years, and these people are on end every time we enter into an agreement that it's turned around and essentially doesn't have any meaning. So why, I guess what I'm asking, why should the district court follow through with its end of the bargain agreement?
No.
You know, we've increased our penalties, our fines, our costs, our oversight fees, and, you know, we continue to get hurt.
Well, I'm sorry you have to use that as the expression of how you feel, because I don't create the cash flow analysis. I read numbers and
That's all we've asked you to do is have it reviewed so that you can take a vote on accurate
but
information.
Judge, you've never asked me to provide that to
We
you.
asked for it in January, it's part of the minutes.
Me.
We had a meeting with Judge Evans, myself, Mr. Walters, yourself sitting right at this table, and we were provided, as we walked in, a cash flow analysis that we said, there are multiple inaccuracies. Can we get new expense reports on a monthly basis reviewed? Never got it.
Well, the fact still remains that I don't create them, so. Terry?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Tori. I'm from Rose, Michigan. This is my first meeting, so please bear with me. I heard the meeting start with his Honor's comments and concerns. I have a degree in criminal justice, and I am going to be attending Ferris this fall to get my master's degree. And one of the things I heard that really concerned me was the lack of security in a court. That is serious liability, very serious liability when it comes to not only his safety, but the safety of others. I've heard the list of the things that you wish to cut this evening. And to me, those things seem more important than anything else in this world. They're very serious positions. Like he said, he was saying that the probation officer has a huge load on his shoulders. I mean, put yourself in that person's shoes. Would you want to handle that caseload and that responsibility by yourself? I just think that maybe we need to take a look at different areas to make cuts in. Please, I don't mean to say this, but maybe we need to cut a couple positions on the committee to balance our budget that we need.
We already
Maybe
have.
I'm getting ready to sue the federal government for not paying me minimum wage. How would you like that? Okay? No, I agree that I see all this stuff, but it comes down to this. Everyone, no one wants it in their backyard, the NIMBY syndrome, you know. And I understand Judge Farrell's points, and I understand Laura's points and Christie's points, but we've gone over this with a fine-tooth comb. We've attempted, and I would suggest this: if anybody in the audience thinks that they can do this, come up with the $300,000, if you feel that froggy, start hopping, because it ain't there. And that's the bottom line. That's where the rubber meets the road. It comes down to this: all these good ideas are just that, good ideas. But when you're faced with the reality of attempting to close that budget, and you've gone over every nickel and looked under every rock, it ain't that easy. And we need support from the judge. We need support from the clerk, the treasurer, from the registry, everybody. We've got to help.
Okay.
Can we get the reports? Can we get these reports so that we can look and table this for, let's say, 2 more weeks into the next commissioners meeting? Get these reports, let people in the public look at them. Let them come up with ideas and present them.
They're open to see. We have the budgets.
But Judge Farrell isn't there.
And one of the things that I would like to address, and I said this last time, but I appreciate your comments. I served on this board for 4 years, and there were 7 people here. They cut 2. It's now 5, and I can guarantee you that I'm supposed to be retired, and I am supposed to be able to go to the national championship matches in June and have a good time and not worry about how many meetings I am going to be missing while I'm gone to Friendship. They started here. The cuts started here 2 years ago.
What is your wish? Yes, Laura?
Are you open to comments?
Yes.
First, okay. My name is Laura Flock. I'm a retired county clerk here, 38 years experience with the county. I don't envy your positions. I know that you're in a hard position. We've been through this before, and it's just grown into a larger problem at the county level. However, I would like to make comments on your proposed cuts to the clerk's office. Clerk's office, of course, is dear to my heart. The county clerk's office, if you understand all the activities and responsibility they have, is a very crucial part of your county government operation. It's a very vital office. They have given up voluntarily the last few years staff cuts. They have instituted numerous programs to save you money. They are not, the clerk's office is not a money-making office. They can't set their own revenue. Basically, they are revenue set by the state. So they're not a money-making office, they're a service office. Laura has done an excellent job taking on more responsibility than required. She has instituted a collections program for the circuit court, which has brought in thousands of dollars to this county. If you make those proposed cuts again to the clerk's office, her staff is going to be so limited, she will have to go to court. You'll have 2 people in court, you'll have 2 people in the office. She's not going to be able to do those collections. You're going to lose that revenue. And you have to look at your budget a little bit too, because as the county clerk, she's also the clerk of circuit court. All of the circuit court finances come through her office. She collects them, but yet the court gets credit for the revenue. I guess my plea is, you need that court office to feed you information, and if she's so busy because she's short-staffed, she's not going to have time for you. So you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot, not only with the loss in the court revenue, but the loss in time that she can devote in giving you the information you need to make wise decisions, because she can't run her office by herself. And she's already given up the last couple of years staff and cuts. And she does the bulk purchasing and all of those things for the county to save money. She's gone over and above. And yet, the cuts to the clerk's office are some of your bigger cuts on that list. And so I would ask you, for the health of the county government, to reconsider those cuts to this vital office. If you cripple her office, it's not only going to hurt her office, it's going to hurt everybody in this room and the board themselves. Thank you.
I did discuss tonight with Daryl Schlaze on the way home how I was preparing my list of items and services that I will be cutting the 1st of June if this does, my office is cut.
Tomorrow, I bet they can hear me. We are being visited tomorrow by a woman whose name is Carol Gladwin, coming from England with her mother. They will be here tomorrow through Friday. She asked if there would be someone, they're coming only to visit the town and county named after their ancestor. Okay? They're looking for someone to give them a tour, to take them around, to be an excellent host. And I would bet that there would be at least 3 people, but we'll be happy for 1 in this audience that's going to come up and give us your name because you are volunteering to do this. It's an opportunity to talk to a Brit and show off the community.
Oh, I will.
Thank you, Stephanie Buffman. I knew somebody was volunteering.
What I do?
Remember what I told you, Stephanie, don't ever volunteer.
It's what I do. I'm going to have to write the story anyway. I might as well spend the day with them.
Well, you're working.
But this could last for 3 days because they're going to be here Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
It's going to be a good story.
So there might be some more room.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah.
Bill Mason, that doesn't need to be acted on, just signed, right? Okay. Yep.
Anything else? Did Mr. Bruce go ahead?
Where'd he go? Where'd Bruce go?
Nope.
Comment. I'm Martin Wilford. I'm a friend of the Glavine County 4-H. It's my understanding that at your last meeting there was a proposal to try to get some funding at the August ballot, and it didn't happen. Our concerns are that, well, I'll back up a little bit. I've heard and read in the paper that there are some of the commissioners that we're looking at trying to keep that MSU Extension Office funded through November, which would certainly help. Because what will happen is we're going to have a lot of money that's going to be in the auction account, and if it doesn't stay open through August, there's a good chance that that money will be seized before we get it dispersed to the kids that sold their animals. We're kind of hoping that this board would consider putting a ballot on the November to see if we can get a millage for funding for that MSU Extension Office. I've been talking to people in the community, and it sounds like there's quite a bit of support for it. To be perfectly honest with this board has lost the trust of the community. Not you necessarily, it's been going on for several years. It's like the feeling is that people are misunderstanding what's going on, or maybe the message being sent out isn't really what the situation is, what have you. And so people are just playing on the defensive and just not voting to accept stuff because they don't really know what's going to happen. But I truly believe it would be a good idea if you were to put it as a standalone on the November ballot. I'm pretty sure that we get some support for that, and we can keep that extension office open and keep programs going for people and the children in our community.
We appreciate your comment. We're still looking at that. You want to bring that up?
Yeah, I brought to the...
We're working on it.
I understand.
Yeah, I brought to the members of the board a way that we could possibly generate revenue for the MSU and the EDC. But I just brought it to them today.
We are meeting within the next few days with Sherry Spielman and her supervisor from MSU Extension to try to come up with a plan to solve the problem.
Okay. And we didn't buy that tractor down there like was.
Well, and I've been hearing that 4-H bought it. So it's like, you know, and it's like I say, there's a lot of stuff goes on, and the rumor mill gets grinding, and people are hearing things, and everybody's just backing away. They're not going to vote for anything because they don't really trust what it is that the millage is really for.
Since I'm one of the people that voted no on the MSU that day at our last meeting, I will tell you why I did. Because we had to vote that day.
I understand.
It was brought to us that day. And I don't, I think boards have gotten into trouble by voting on things that they have not had the opportunity to research, to be able to look at.
I understand.
Okay, and that's why I voted no. And I do know, I just asked Laura, and we would have until the middle to the late part of July to approve the ballot language for November. And that would give us time, because I represent 3 townships. I would like their input. Do you understand? And so that's why I said no at the last meeting.
I understand. Thank you.
Larry.
Why don't we take the 4-H and incorporate it with the fair? With the fair board, get rid of the rest of it, and we don't need it.
I know that's what they did over at Claire, so.
It's time we do it. We don't need it. 4-H can be incorporated with the fair board. The county does not pay 1 cent towards the fair in any way. The township does not, or the city does not pay 1 cent towards the fair. It's time that we take the 4-H, we incorporate it with the fair, and we don't need it. You can take whatever you want out of that. If we don't need the extension office, all right. But I mean, it's time we take the 4-H and put it where it belongs. It belongs in the fair. That's the only place it's used as it is. I know, Bev, you ain't gonna agree with me.
I know.
I mean, we've been around together too long. Okay?
I know.
We're gonna see what we can do.
But no, I know this has been a fight, and you're never gonna get another millage. I mean, the last one is going to make the next one twice as bad. I don't care what you do. People are mad. And they're not going to quit.
Thanks, Larry. Anyone else? Receive and file and all that stuff?
Go for it. Motion to adjourn.
Receive and file.
Motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Motion supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.